Really excited to talk with you all. First off, congratulations just from me, from the whole team, on making it to 5 years in business. I feel like what they say with like marriage, like the first 5 years is like the hardest. I feel like I don't know if that's true in business, but I'm going to make the assumption that it is. And so I feel like, and that's, they say like the marriages fail within the first, yeah, I feel like that is true with businesses. And so I would like to say that that is no simple feat. And you all really done the thing, and have been doing the work and putting in the work. And clearly it continues to grow. So very excited about that. I wanted to see if we could hear from y'all a little bit more about like what was your vision in 2018? What were some of the hopes? What were some of the dreams? And how have either you surpassed some of those visions or how have some of those visions changed?
Mhm.
I think that's something I know you talked a little bit about like reaching that those goals, but how have some of those goals shifted now that you have been here for a while?
Uh, I think what I would just add to my response is that one of the one of the goals for ThirdSpace Action Lab when we started to embrace the idea that we would become a consulting firm is for us to um I don't know, like one of the dreams was that this would become an all-star team of racial equity and inclusion innovators. So really what we're attempting to do is we're trying to go beyond the awareness building workshop experience and really try to demonstrate what it looked like to apply racial equity and inclusion insights. So um, our I think that purpose is still the same, and it feels like the promise of us coalescing as a team and continuing to build out the core and establishing some stability around our personnel and fitting people in the right roles is something that feels like we're making progress, but it's just very difficult, you know. And so I feel like the work continues, but I'm still optimistic that we are finding the right people. We're finding the right people
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Now, us creating the right containers and the right lanes for these incredible people is the most exciting challenge that I could imagine right now. You know, so I have a tremendous amount of faith in our personnel and our teammates. And I feel like that was something that just emerged from our desire to, I don't know, liberate the work that we were doing when we were at CMP from the margins. But I can say that more simply. It's like that wasn't the core of what Evelyn and I were doing at Neighborhood Progress. And so this experiment was for us to be able to do this type of liberatory experimental work full time. And by the grace of God, we're still here. Um, and so I feel like we have given ourselves a pretty strong foundation after 5 years to take this work to the next level.
Perfect. What about you, Evelyn? I know you're in the other lab.
I'm ready. Ready. You can bear with the little pots and pans clanking while I get some garlic in the pan. Um,
Absolutely.
Mordecai always says things so much more eloquently than me, but I think for me, when we started, I was really just trying to make sense of things. I had always wanted to open this like coffee shop. I had got introduced in college to this concept of a third place. I had seen things like that in other cities. and always felt like, oh, I wish we had something like that here in Cleveland. I wish that like my hometown in Youngstown had something like that. Because I've always been a very social person, and I've always appreciated the spaces that allow people to be. And Mordecai has heard the story 1,000 times, but I thought for this, like when I was thinking about the question, I wanted to include way before there was like an idea of like third place and third space. I wanted to be a barber. And I was just very recent, and I was like enrolled in barber school. And then all my friends were going to college. And so then I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to go to college. But anyway, I've been like thinking lately about what's the relationship between like a barber shop and where I am today. And it's like a barber shop is, in my definition and interpretation of a third place, because it is the place where people go to just be. Like it's people that tell their barber more than they tell their pastor. You know, they go to their barber with some of their most important life decisions. And so I think like unconsciously, that was a little bit of what I was trying to create at ThirdSpace. Because I have always been a person that has like not necessarily known what they want, but is willing to try anything. And then I learned like, well, know what I don't want, you know? And ThirdSpace was the first thing that I affirmatively wanted, like where it was not like like, oh, tried some stuff, that was whack. What's the next thing like somebody's giving to me? And I never had any aspirations at all of being an entrepreneur besides being a barber. And like, you know, my big aspiration was like, I'll be a barber, I'll have a barber chain, I'll open in Atlanta, you know, like very Youngstown girl aspirations. And I think like by the time it gets to ThirdSpace, I have these very important people in my life, like Mordecai, Erica Anthony, and Danielle Signor, and Jasmine Long, and Kayla Griffin, and Crystal Bryant. And we're all like talking about and dreaming about a place where we could like not have to deal with the bullshit and just work, like just do our work. So I found these plans that we had put together years ago, and we were calling it the Firm, you know, and this was going to be this place where like Black people could go and work and we have to fool around with white folks. And you know, so I think to the second part of your question, you know, we're doing some of that. Like it certainly is a different place to work. I have a ton of reflections on, you know, what about Black folks trying to create liberated space for Black folks and other people of color and all of that, you know, a lot that I'm reflecting on. But I think we're doing a lot of what we set out to do. We have this bookstore that's amazing, this place where people can convene, a place where they can, hopefully the team and our partners like feel comfortable being a little bit more of themselves. Yeah, I'll stop there before I ramble.
No, not rambling at all. And I don't know about what you think about eloquence, but if that is any indication, that was it. Especially just ThirdSpace is the first thing that I affirmatively wanted. Like what a powerful statement right there. And so I appreciate you sharing and hopefully continuing to sharing your reflections. I am very interested to know, especially at 5 years, I think, you know, we can sometimes, when we get like really into the work and we really get into what we are doing, like there can be, I guess, a lag or like a drag, and it doesn't seem as if that's something that you all are experiencing. It seems like you are continuing to come up with a lot of ideas and continuing to push things forward. And so I'm wondering, like, what are some of the things that continue to inspire you as T-Style reaches some new milestones?
I am really inspired by like that. I'm always most inspired by people, and like the stuff that people can do. And the older I get, like that ranges from, like, I'm inspired by how truly kind and like loving and committed to the sanctity of humanity that Mordecai is as a person, like for real. Like, and it's like natural for him. Or I'm really inspired by you and Dr. Like, I can go, every person on the team is stuff that they do that I'm like, damn, wow, that is fucking dope, you know? And in what way can I like contribute to like bring more of that out? Because I'm an extreme extrovert. I've always been since I was little. And so like I'm much more inspired by people than by like things. But people, you know, make things. I will say I'm really inspired. Since COVID, I've been really inspired by Black film and TV, and just like the places it's going. So like I remember when Lovecraft Country came out, and when what was the other one where it was like a Black superhero and she was killing cops?
The Watchmen.
The Watchmen came out. And when you, like, those of us that have been watching Insecure from the beginning and just like seeing how much better it was getting, like the music was getting better, the cinematography was getting better. So I like, while I like the product, I really like seeing people like work on their craft. And that inspires me to like, oh, this is really dope right now, but like this can be doper. And I'm starting to see that stuff again. Me and Mordecai, for this event we want ThirdSpace to do, have been watching all of these cooking shows like of Black chefs. And like I am fucking blown away by what it takes to like run a kitchen, and like the dedication and commitment. Like I had no idea that for a lot of these like 5-star restaurants and Michelin restaurants, like these chefs show up at 10 in the morning and dinner service starts at 5. And, you know, like, but like I'm inspired by people losing track of time because they're working on their craft, you know, so like the time kind of goes away. Wait, let me make sure. Am I answering the question? What was the question? And what am I inspired by, right? Okay. Yeah. So
what continues to inspire you, but
yeah, so
similar.
People continue to inspire me. And again, like people of all types. Like it's people that come into the space, the elders sharing their stories. Like I'm very, very inspired by that. And I will say, I guess the last thing I'll say is like I'm still inspired by all the stuff that has always inspired me, like people doing big things, like what I just named, like making movies and having Michelin star restaurants. I'm also inspired by the elders that come to the intergenerational lunch that we know have experienced so much trauma and so much bullshit in their lives. And they are like really joyful, happy people, you know. I just like puts a lot of what I get really frustrated by and turned up about in perspective. So like, yeah, mostly people, but it's a lot of dope shit that people are doing out in the world that like inspires me. Film, TV, art, podcasts, anything that well, last thing for I'll say, anything that people are doing that especially like is them coordinating, inspiring, motivating teams to like create and produce is very inspiring as well.
Thank you. I'm like, I need to find some new sources of inspiration after your response. I'm like, oh, what am I really looking at? Why am I not feeling these things from the things I'm watching? I need to start watching some new things.
Well, I got you. If you need some some inspiration, I feel like for me, I am inspired by the work itself too. Like I don't want to mess up my response to this question and that I sent via email, especially because you gave me so much credit on it. But I would just add to that response that as an African American studies major, it wasn't obvious what I would do with my life after graduating, you know, and it's really a dream come true to be able to do that work professionally, and I don't take it for granted. I feel like on the other hand, like I've always had a desire to be a part of this cadre of people who are trying to make the world better, but particularly trying to make Cleveland a place that people want to come to, and they want to make Black neighborhoods. I want to make Black neighborhoods like a place that we can dream about, like there's, if we go back to the history, and this is why our Chocolate City Cleveland project is so, it's so interesting to me, and also why it's so expansive, because there's so many different components of this project that each will require a lot of attention, and you could get lost in the research of discovering all these stories, and thinking about the aspirations and the visions of our ancestors who came to Cleveland, like that to me is motivation and inspiration enough. But really, I feel like our generation and the generations that are going to come after us deserve to see value in and a I don't know, like some type of aspirational vision of what their neighborhoods should be. Like, I think that Black spaces are important. And if it weren't for structural racism and socioeconomic inequity, like these places would be just as dope as these places that Black people have to leave some of themselves behind to feel safe with them. That to me is why I get out of bed. It's like I always wanted Glenville to be one of the dopest neighborhoods in the country, and then for other neighborhoods to compete with Glenville to be the best Black neighborhood around, So that's really what animates my creativity, I guess, is that desire to prove that things that are designed for and inspired by Black people are worthwhile. Like we should pay attention to these things because there's so much magic within them.
Yeah, I love that response. It makes me think a lot about some of our current projects, like on the lakefront and the library, and just with what you said, like you want these places to be just as dope as the places that Black people have to leave some of themselves behind to feel safe in. Like these places be those places, and they shouldn't have to leave any part of themselves behind. And so I'm like grateful that those are projects that's what inspires you, and those are projects that we are also able to work on and bring some of that inspiration hopefully to life.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't know how I would be able to shape these things before having these opportunities. I really do feel like this is a dream job, even though at times, like we were discussing, like the work is work, like we are a consulting company. For at least part of our team, it does consulting professionally. Another part of our team is running a bookstore. Another part of our team is doing pretty traditional jobs around administration, HR, back office things. And we have an opportunity to do it in a more soulful way. I couldn't have predicted that we'd be working on the lakefront, but I always wanted to. I'm from Cleveland, so I'm like, oh, I want this city to be the envy of the world, And so that's why it's hard for me to. Well, I guess that's why I'm in the right position as the chief creative officer, because honestly, I would do this for free, and thank God I don't have to. But these ideas and the opportunity to dream like every day, like I don't know, like that is enough. This feels like a success, like overall.
Yeah, I think that really transitions us into one of my favorite questions. That not my one of this is actually my favorite question. Maybe because I think sometimes we can get so focused on like, oh, the first Black person to do this, the first Black person to do that. And it's it's spun as a feel-good story, but it's like not it's actually just
You
a
really
symptom of
think about it.
structural racism. Yeah. And that's not actually something, of course we want to be proud and we want to celebrate people's accomplishments, but it's kind of a sad thing, especially when it's been hundreds and hundreds of years before we get the first
Yeah.
thing. But I think so, in 5 years, in just a short amount of time, you all have had able to have so many firsts that are not symptoms of that, are actually the opposite of that, that are actually like connected to, the dreams that you were talking about, and directly connected to people's craft, and things that, they can really lose time doing, or not think about time when they're doing it. And so I want to know, what are some of your favorite firsts for ThirdSpace?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna add to my list, and then I'll shut up so Evie can generate hers. Like I will say that one of my favorite firsts is being the place, or being like kind of uh a a venue or a backdrop for the first one of our friends and comrades to become mayor. Like that it sounds crazy to put it that way, but we have now been involved in two successful mayoral campaigns, and these are people who we have known for a while. I mean, certainly with Mayor Bibb, like he's one of the first young professionals that I connected with when I came back from undergrad, and to see what he's done, it makes sense to me. Like I knew that he was going to do this at some point, but to be a place where he felt like comfortable having his war room on primary election night and then on the general election night, that is really remarkable. And it felt like really special to have been adjacent to this, to be a part of this historic moment is really, really interesting. I'm really proud of that. Yeah, that's the one that I would add. If you give me a bit more time, I'll come up with some more. But EB.
Oh man, I knew you were gonna. I'm just gonna say what my answer is. My favorite first were our first 5-figure check, like because I was like, oh snap, wow, like we're actually, people are paying us to like do something. Our first like paycheck that wasn't, that like, oh, we are paying somebody for their talent. I remember really vividly, and it was like so boring to people, but when we got our 401k established, it was like, this isn't going to rebuild the Black middle class, but like doing our part, like living our values. I feel like, but I could be making it up. Our first book sale, like we are a bookstore. We just sold a book as a bookstore, was really crazy. I actually a little corny, but like our first logo that like Mordecai had commissioned an artist, and like they made all these logos, and I was like, oh shit, wow. Like didn't have that feeling for like the LLC that felt like government paper, but like having a logo was like, oh snap, like we don't have a brand, but we have a logo, and it actually represents us a lot. When Celia from our team did our office upstairs, like we had been working so hard to like, on the downstairs, but never really having the time. And so when she did it upstairs and we walked in for like the surprise, I was like, it immediately hit me like, oh, this is what we're trying to do downstairs. We just needed a smaller canvas. Like the canvas was just too big. So then it made it more real and achievable. Like, oh, okay, so we need to start bringing this stuff down. So those are the ones that come to mind, the first that come to mind for me.
Those are really great first. And I feel what you say about the logo. Like you said, we didn't have a brand, but we had a logo. But how do you can't have a brand without a logo. Can't have a brand, people don't know who you are. And you got to start somewhere. And I think just hearing that means a lot to me, working a lot on that side of the business, the brand, the marketing, and things like that. Just to think about like the first day that was, the brand, the logo I use all the time. I just sent one to Miss Tina, like that we use for everything. Like at one point that didn't exist, and now it does. And now it means, so many more things than um, just a logo. Like it's not just a logo. It's a culture. It's a brand. It's everything. So that's a very important one. So thinking of and speaking of like how things grow and change and start to, carry more meaning. And this is actually the final question that I have, unless I'm sparked by some inspiration, which does tend to happen, but who knows, sometimes I can just stick to the script. But what is something that excites you about the future of Third Space? And I'm sure there's many things, but what is the most exciting?
I'm excited about some of the challenges that are ahead of us, and these challenges are not necessarily existential challenges, like like I guess I'm thinking about the challenge of creating a business model that is the right type of container for the work that we're attempting to do. So I'm like excited about the opportunity and the challenge to get it right. I'm excited about what it would look like for us to continue to lead with our values, and I'm excited about the prospect of continuing to distribute leadership. And really the reason why I'm excited about that is that there's so much potential power that's going to come from people feeling like they're really in their bags. Like when I see you like energized doing the work, when I see what is inevitably going to be an incredibly beautiful, thoughtfully produced newsletter. Like this is a newsletter, but there's so much intentionality and so much like personality and creativity that is captured within these digital pages. Like that's exciting to me. Like I feel like the promise of Third Space is being realized when people are showing what is inside of them. When I'm able to see that, like that's what keeps me energized. Because honestly, being an executive is not all that it's cracked up to be. I feel like a little bit of longing for the days when I could just come to work and just go crazy and exploring my creative talents. I get a simple task and I spend all night working on that thing. I kind of miss those days. And so like being able to see that energy or that effort put into our projects by the rest of the team, like that's exciting to me.
Ooh, that was a sermon. Ditto on all of that. I would underscore the team growth and 100 plus 100 on the executive part. Like I too, and I imagine everybody says this, like I wish I was like doing that thing, like where I used to be able to but I think with the growth of the team and people like getting in their bag, I look forward to me and Mordecai like getting back in our bag. I have so many ideas of stuff that I want to do. Like I want to help incubate the Black culinary arts scene in Cleveland. I want to do some documentaries. I want to do I want to continue to like have one of the dopest Juneteenth events in Cleveland, but hopefully like it becomes a thing that people from around the country are like, I'm going to Cleveland I'm either going to Galveston or I'm going to Cleveland for Juneteenth. I'm really excited about like what's going to happen with the stuff that we've created, like Chocolate City, Cleveland, the People's Practice, like, a lot of our client work, importantly to say, I'm interested in all our client work, even when it's like gets on my nerves or annoying, I'm interested in all of it. But I'm really excited about the things that we learn from our client partners and then get to apply like in our work, or the things that we learn from people that we are adjacent to and we get to like integrate it into our work. Like that stuff excites me, and it excites me to know that we have people that are really creative that can like turn this stuff into much more interesting stuff. And I think again back to being a extrovert and kind of a connector and stuff like that, like the energy comes from other people like being in their shit. And so I'm very excited to continue to see that grow. I think it's growing every day. I'm very excited to like continue to let go and like, y'all got it. What happened? Tell me about it, So I guess that stuff is like growth stuff, but it excites me very much.
I love that. I love the common thread of being excited at through the extension of other people and like them getting, to do work that excites them, that maybe frees you all up to do different things as well. And I always think about what you say of like, we move at the speed of trust. And I just like see that building and that being a catalyst for a lot of these things to really take off and take shape and be built, either continue to be built or like be built from the ground up. And so I love that, you all have and continue to be surrounded by people who are able to uplift that and are, able to have that mutual trust to bring some of these visions to life. So super exciting things.
I just want to like, and it doesn't fit with the question, but it is like the honor of your life to start something and people find it interesting enough and trust you enough to like be in it, like there is that like I've never thought about leadership in that way until now, and even like real recently, that like it's no small thing to trust a person enough to like entrust your paycheck in them, or entrust part of your reputation in them and the thing they built. And I think like something I'm really proud of with me and MC is like we actually do believe in co-design. We can be like, oh, founders and nervous and whatever, but we believe in it because like that's the genesis of our relationship, and like some of our closest homies is like this. We are at our best when we are at our best, so like it's just not a small thing. It can be hard to even like, you have to pinch yourself some days. They're like, oh yeah, like people are here, and if we put the right things in place and people feel good, like the sky is actually kind of the limit. Or is the sky isn't the limit? Is that how I go? Whatever. Like it really ain't much we can't do if like we believe we can do it. Okay, I'm gonna stop now for real.
No, that's okay. That actually leads me, I was going to ask if there were other additions or things I didn't ask about that you're like, nah, the people got to know. I got to get this off my chest. This is my 5-year reflection. This is, things like sometimes you just got to say the thing. And is there anything that you're like, I got to say the thing?
Oh yeah, well, you know now that if you keep asking the questions, we're just gonna keep on talking. So I will take you up on that. I think that what's really important to me is us being able to provide an example, or at least to to create a prototype that other people can build on, about how to do intergenerational work in like a very meaningful and sustained way. I think one of the the big observations about the pandemic years, or this new reality that we're working in, and also thinking about the Gen Z and the generations that come after Gen Z, like how different their relationship is to work. Like that is, it presents some challenges and some threats, but I'm hopeful that it presents a lot of opportunities. Like this, what do we do to make it easier for this radical woke generation to feel at home and work? Like this could be a moment where we actually do change the reality of the workforce in our economy. Like it feels like so many things are possible today that weren't in previous generations, that I just feel like it's I feel like this is such an important moment, and it's not just right now, but like the immediate future is going to be consequential for the next generation. So I'm energized by that, and I want to break some, I don't know, some generational curses. There haven't really been a smooth like transition of power and responsibility and like collaborative work and unity and all these things that people have been talking about for a bunch of years. I just happen to be naive enough to believe that we can get this right. So I want us to do it. We're gonna need some help.
That truly was much more eloquent than what I was gonna say. I think I just want people to keep like coming to fuck with us, like share their ideas, the biggest ideas, know that like we aren't the only people that can do them, but together like we can do a lot, and we do want to be like the idea shop. That we definitely need a lot of help is that the workforce is changing forever, and a lot of it is gonna be for like so much better. Like we're very lucky for the way that people are rising up. My plea to people is to give grace for those of us that are on the front lines of that change. And if you're a business or organization right now, you are on the front lines of that change in a like very, very, very real way, that I think sometimes I feel frustrated that like we forget that that change is not instantaneous, and like Black people cannot and in our case like two Black leaders cannot make liberation be so just because we are Black. Like we can't, that is not enough for a liberated workspace or a liberated space. Like there's that, like we can only do it together in a way that I don't want to sound hoteppy or anything, but or like nationalistic, but I do think it's really intrinsic to Black folks. And like as time passes, we get further and further away from. But I do think it's some stuff that's like our grandmas and great grandmas and ancestors instilled in us, that like that's the stuff that's gonna get us there. But I feel very, very again blessed to be in all of those like things, like a black business owner and all of that. And I just want Black people to like fuck with us and be proud of us.
And they are. And they are. I think you both made some very important points, especially just looking towards, the future of the next 5 years, 10 years, and a lot is going to change and is changing. I think like what you said, Evelyn, we say a lot about like, oh, we're losing recipes, and we don't want to lose recipes. We don't. Like, there are some that need to be continued through generations and generations. And I think a lot to what you said, Mordecai, and some of those recipes got raisins in the potato salad, and we don't want that anymore. Like, I don't think that that's not a classic recipe, but like that's not something we want to continue, and so that can get that can get tossed. But it is hard to find the discernment in what recipes get put in that tin box and stay in there and are important, and what recipes do we need to reconsider and reconstruct as we look to the future. And those are big questions, and I have faith that whether it's in this organization or through who you all inspire, that those are questions that will find answers to, or build answers to, I should say.
Wow. Tristan, this is why I feel so grateful that you're on our team. Like, that was so well said, and I want to see more of your voice out there. So I'll just stop there. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. This is always fun. It's always been fun. But it's, I think, especially fun to do with you two. So definitely, I appreciate the trust in the space and just how thoughtful you both have been. Like, you made my job easy. It's not like pulling teeth at all. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.